Welcome to r/EntitledParents, where this truly insane grandma copies her granddaughter's key without permission so that she can enter her house whenever she wants without her knowing. You won't give me a key to your house? That's fine, I'll make one for myself. This is actually an entitled grandparent story, but this lady has been involved in my upbringing since I was a child. And this woman hates me. To give some background, my grandmother is a hardcore Catholic former nun and was extremely strict with my dad and me. My dad got his 17-year-old girlfriend drunk and pregnant, which is obviously a huge no-no in the Catholic Church. My grandma basically pressured my mum to convert to Catholicism and marry my dad. Later, they had 2 more kids. But because I was born out of wedlock, I am the black sheep. And not just by my grandma, my entire dad's side will never be happy with me and they hate me and my mum. For reference, I'm 24 and my sisters are 22 and 20. The youngest just moved out with her partner, but neither have jobs. And the middle one and her fiance are extremely financially irresponsible and live with my parents and just expect to have everything handed over to them. I'm out of the house with a professional job, married and have a child and have been doing really well for myself. Yet I'm the disappointment. My grandma was extremely strict and abusive specifically to me. She's yelled at me multiple times, calling me the child of the devil, a demon, etc. She's thrown stuff at my face for no reason, and I wasn't allowed to have any privacy at her house. I always had to have the bedroom door open. She would sit at the foot of my bed until I fell asleep. I had to spend every weekend and break from school with her until I started working at 15. And she would scream at me if I locked the bathroom door. You get the idea. She'd also threaten to call the cops if we didn't comply with her. And there were multiple instances where she would call the cops if we didn't answer our phones. Like, she's called at 7 AM and 10 PM on separate occasions, and I've woken up to cops knocking at my door. And yes, this has happened when I'm at home and also out of town, where I didn't even tell her where I was staying. She is psycho. So on with the story. I actually just found out the other day that she did this, so that's why I'm sharing this now. Anyway, when I was 20, I decided to move out with a couple of friends. My grandma demanded that I give her a key to the duplex. I refused for multiple reasons. In the first place, I don't need my grandma being able to come over whenever she wants, especially since one of my roommates was my boyfriend. In the second place, we threw a lot of get-togethers, and I don't need her lecturing my friends that Dungeons and Dragons and anime and all that are tools of the devil and we need to all go to church with her. And in the third place, we'd all agreed to not give out copies of our keys to any family members, and I'm not about to have my friends' privacy invaded as well because my grandma just can't handle not having control of every little part of my life. I mean, she still called multiple times every day and found excuses to try to come over as much as possible. And every time for the first couple of months, she kept demanding I give her a key to our place, and I kept refusing. Well, at one point, my youngest sister was spending the night and my grandma dropped her off. We were going to go and do some shopping, but I couldn't find my keys. I'm looking everywhere and I can't find them anywhere. So my grandma offered to pick up what I needed to make dinner. I reluctantly agreed and went back to looking for my keys. They somehow were right on the bar. Now, I didn't think much of it at the time because I do stuff like that all the time, but my sister told me the full story. Apparently, the next day when my grandma picked her up, she bragged to her how she stole my keys when I wasn't looking and made herself a copy of the key so she can go inside whenever she wanted. Now, she's never barged in while I'm home, so I'm guessing she was coming in when no one was home and going through everything. And it's justified, you know, because she's just making sure we were making good Catholic choices. It also wouldn't be the first time she's gone through my stuff when I'm not home, because she would do the same thing to me at my parents' house and then berate me if she found things she didn't like. Apparently, she's been trying to steal my keys for this house too, but she hasn't been able to figure out where I keep them. I keep my keys in our bedroom in the far back of the house and will not have my keys around her now for this exact reason. Well, you better hope that your grandma doesn't go on Reddit and r/EntitledParents in general. If she reads this post, you've just disclosed where you keep your keys. Terrible. But in all seriousness, this woman is just absolutely mental. I wish there was a subreddit that was called like r/mental-grandparents or something. That is where this woman should go. Absolutely insane. Just leave your granddaughter alone. I mean, apart from the fact that this is absolutely insane, as I just said, it is also absolutely illegal. If she does this in the future, and you catch her, I mean, look, you could even set up a hidden camera or just a camera in general to catch her doing this. Maybe get one of those doorbells. Go to the police. It is illegal. Like, it's trespassing. You cannot do this sort of thing, even if it's your family member. No one cares. I mean, to be fair, I don't even think she needs to come back or go into your house with her key. The fact that she's copied one of your keys is also illegal without your permission. I mean, tell the police if you care that much. That's probably what I'd do to stop this crazy woman from coming into my house. Anyway, what a weird start to the episode. My parents don't like my boyfriend, so they gave me an ultimatum. I'm looking for experience and opinions. All are welcome. I'll try to make a long story short. I am an only child, and my current boyfriend and I have been dating for 6 years, starting when I was 19 and he was 20. We met at junior college where we started dating, and after that we went to different UCs, but within an hour of each other. My parents met him early on by joining us at dinner. Everything seemed to go well. Then, soon after, we went to his parents' house, who live about 2 hours away from my parents, so I could meet his family. And after learning this, my mum told me how hurt she was that we didn't come to see them too. I expressed that this weekend was for me to meet his family, but it was clear that she felt almost betrayed. Fast forward, my parents invite me up to our cabin and my boyfriend joins. We take my car because it was already loaded with laundry, etc. After we arrive, my dad pulls me aside and pretty much quietly yells at me how wrong it is that I drove and that we took my car. He's the man. He should be driving. Blah, blah, blah. This started everything going forward on a sour note. The cabin is in Tahoe. It gets cold in the winter. So my boyfriend wore a sweatshirt with his hood up during some of the time at the cabin. My parents, to this day, cite this as weird and rude, as well as a reason they don't like him for wearing a hoodie. Wow. As we continue our relationship, it's clear that my parents don't like him, but they can't really give up what I would call good or justifiable reasons. They'll say he's just not a good fit for the family. They don't tell me to stop dating him, because they can't, I'm an adult, but they do tell me that I need to keep them and him separate. They don't want to really hear about him, and he's not welcome at their house or cabin. By the way, he's never cheated on me, abused me, has no drug problems, nothing that a normal parent would cite as a problem. Eventually, it became an ultimatum given to me by my parents. They tell me that if you continue to date him, eventually it will be either him or us, and you'll have to choose. Among other things, they would tell me that he'd never be an attorney, which is what he wanted to do, and insinuating that he probably wouldn't be much of anything at all. After undergrad, I started working at a financial firm. He graduated from undergrad at UC Berkeley and was accepted to law school across the country. We were always very serious about each other and made the decision to do long distance until he graduated and moved back to California. My boyfriend has since graduated from law school, moved home and took the bar last month. He starts work this October and had a contract since last year. My parents have known about this as well. Now, 6 years into our relationship, I call my parents and tell them that we're going to be moving in together. About 20 minutes later, I get a text from my mum saying that she doesn't want to rain on my parade, but that this path excludes her and my dad from my future. That they love me, but they can't be in my life if I choose to be with my boyfriend. I told them I would never understand. Since then, they've sent me more and more text messages saying stuff like, "We feel like we're losing our daughter. This is heartbreaking," etc. And all at the same time, including that this is my choice and my fault. I texted my parents that I thought my boyfriend and I should come over and talk. That texting about this kind of thing is stupid, but not to be patronized or belittled. And if it turned to screaming, that we would leave. My parents then replied that they wanted to see me face to face to talk, but that my boyfriend isn't allowed. My boyfriend even called my father the night of the initial "we can't be part of your life" text to try and talk or meet up and see if there was a way to talk through any legitimate concerns. My dad did not answer and responded a week plus later, only to text him that they haven't really ever liked him, that he wants to work through it with me alone, and it's mine and my boyfriend's fault for not trying to address things earlier. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who exactly are the parents and who are the children here. This is nuts. Among other ridiculous reasons, in inverted commas, to not like my boyfriend were, Berkeley isn't a man's college, my dad said. One time in college, my professor lost my final exam. And when I found out via my final grades and was frantically calling her to figure out what happened, my parents told my boyfriend, See, this is why we didn't want her to have a boyfriend in college. They found ways to blame him for everything. The only thing that ever had any merit was that he wasn't working yet. Well, this was because he was going to school to be a lawyer. Apparently, marrying someone who will make a lot of money is a bad thing? My boyfriend is the nicest, most calm and peaceful person ever, and he loves me more than anything. But apparently, their pride is more important than being wrong and accepting him. I guess I'm just trying to figure out if this is normal, or if it's as wrong as it feels to my boyfriend and I. Well, it's definitely not normal. That is 100% for sure. I think what's going on here is that your parents just clearly don't like your boyfriend, who will eventually become your husband, and they're trying to come up with some ludicrous reason or excuse as to why they don't like him, when in reality, we have no idea why they don't like him. It just seems to us anyway, without too much context, that they're just petty. I don't know. Who knows? If you have any idea why OP's parents just don't like her boyfriend, get in the comments down below. I might have missed something, but OP has actually said in an edit as well that the boyfriend and the parents are the same ethnicity, they're the same race, somewhat similar financial status, so it's nothing as obvious as that. It's just that they don't like him. I don't know why, but they don't. I mean, it's very embarrassing. They're being completely unreasonable. Surely, if your daughter loves someone so much, you'd be so supportive of them, right? And say, you know what, this is great. I'm so happy for you. And to be fair, your boyfriend sounds like a good person anyway, you know? Good job. You've said that he's very caring and loves you so much. Why don't they just like that? I don't understand it, but hey, this is Entitled Parents. The one thing I would say, and make sure you do this, is that if they're going to be like, yeah, okay, it's either us or him, obviously make sure you choose him. I know they're your parents, but like that should be an obvious decision, right? Now for our final Entitled Parents story of this episode. My sister attacked my wife and my mum is holding our financial documents hostage because of it. Hi Reddit. This post is half to vent, but also half to check myself and make sure that I'm not going crazy. My wife and I are recently married, but have been together since December 2019. Ever since then, we've had nothing but problems with my family, particularly my mum and my one sister, as well as occasionally my brother, sister-in-law, and dad. My wife and I have talked multiple times in the past few years about whether we feel like it's gotten to the point of us needing to go no contact, but we haven't quite pulled the trigger yet. This past weekend, however, and the aftermath are having us seriously consider it. I guess I just need some advice. The background / lead up. My wife and I were asked to help with a home project, painting, for my brother and sister-in-law's new house. The only supplies that were brought for said project was one single paint sprayer and one single roll of painting tape, even though we had 7 to 9 people at various points who were there to help. More tape was later purchased. My wife, mum, sister-in-law and I started taping up the parts that needed to be covered, and my brother started painting behind us. There wasn't a whole lot to tape, so once we were finished, there wasn't anything to do other than sit around and wait. Eventually, my sister starts painting, and my wife and I decide at around 7 PM that it would probably be smart to try to order food for everyone. My wife is with one group on one side talking about food orders, and I am on the other side with my mum and sister. My wife heard them yelling and was concerned, especially due to previous history, that something was happening, so she came over and asked what was going on. Here is a play-by-play of the conversation. My sister hands me the paint sprayer. Your turn. Oh, okay. I thought I was supposed to go and get food. Too bad. My mum then said, I did ask you to help paint. Well, I did help tape. Well, I didn't ask you to help tape. I asked you to help paint, didn't I? I suppose. Then my wife gets involved. What are you guys yelling about? Oh, we were just giving him some trash. Oh, okay. It just sounded like yelling. Then my sister starts screaming. He can talk to his family without you. It's none of your freaking business. Huh? Said my wife. You have no right to be a freaking C word to my mum. It's none of your business. And he can talk to his family without you around. I was just asking a question about my husband. Is there a problem with that? You don't get to talk to my mum like that, you female dog. Again, I was asking a simple question about my husband. My sister takes a couple of steps towards my wife. My wife walks towards my sister. My sister is literally centimeters from her face. My wife then places her hand on my sister's chest and tells her to back off, and then my sister started swinging. Basically, my sister started swinging at my wife, and my wife put her hands up to block her face and accidentally hit my sister in the face. After this, I pulled my sister back and my wife stepped back. My sister was yelling things like, "She freaking hit me! Call the freaking cops!" etc. After my sister eventually seemed to calm down, I let her go and she lunged at my wife again, and this time got a hit in. I pulled her back again, and then my brother and sister-in-law walk up and start yelling at my wife. My sister-in-law says that my wife is making them look like trash to their new neighbors, and my brother tells us to get the F off his property. My mum started yelling at my wife, telling her that she was being a female dog, and that she had no right to come at her, my mum, like that, even though my wife hadn't even moved yet from the spot where she was standing. Fast forward. Over the past few days, we've gotten many text messages and phone calls. The gist of those is basically continuing to blame my wife and telling me that I am a terrible brother, son, and uncle. That's to my sister's kids, who were also present for this entire scenario. Additionally, we need some old tax forms for some financial paperwork we need to fill out. And while my wife's parents sent those to us as soon as they were able, my parents are holding them hostage and flat out refusing to give them to us. I was told that I'd have to drive an hour to their house to retrieve them and have a conversation with my mum, and that my wife was not welcome to this conversation. Additionally, that my wife is no longer welcome in their house. When we called and asked if my mum could please just email them to us, we need them, her exact response was, maybe. Withholding our financial documents feels like it should be a last straw for me, but it's really hard, and I want to make the right choice. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Guys, get in the comments down below. I want to hear what you think. But from my perspective, I don't think this is terribly bad. Just a falling out. Now, who knows? If this continues to happen again and again and again, and your wife just never feels comfortable around these people, then sure, you need to do something. But for now, I mean, just play it by ear. But as long as you get these forms, just give it some time, relax, make sure they calm down, and things should be fine. I mean, it's a terrible thing to happen, like your wife getting assaulted. I'm not trying to say that it's not, but I don't think you need to suddenly go to the lengths of going no contact with your entire family or your mum or your sister just because this one thing happened. I get it from your wife's perspective. If she doesn't want to see these people ever again, I think that's fine. But for your perspective, try and work it out. It is family after all. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Do you think I'm being too lenient? Because I can understand if some of you think that way. I mean, I will say that it has to be completely on your and your wife's terms, of course. I'm only saying that previous stuff if you guys are willing to, accept it. I'm just saying you don't necessarily have to cut them off just for this one act. It's whether or not this has happened before or is going to happen again, potentially, you think, and whether you get these forms back. I mean, I don't really know how this works legally, whether they have to give you this financial paperwork or not. If they do, then maybe it's becoming illegal. I don't know, so I can't really comment on that. Just with the personal stuff that happened, yeah, it's not good, is it? The more I think about it, the more I feel like if your wife wants you to never see them again, maybe you got to do it. I don't know. She did get hit by her sister, but hey, family scraps happen sometimes in rare occurrences. Just because it happened doesn't mean you have to completely, tear up the family, but I wouldn't blame you if you did. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of r/EntitledParents. Really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did and you want more stories from me right away, check out the link down below, top line of the description, for my entire playlist of Entitled Parent episodes. Or if you're on YouTube, click on screen. Simple as that. I'll see you guys all tomorrow for some more Reddit content. Have a good one.